This episode of Warp Factor 10 is brought to you by, well, of course, you. If you want to learn more about how you can support the show, go to patreon.com/thearena_podcast. Hey everyone, welcome into Warp Factor 10, our show about all things Star Trek. I'm your host Expat, along with my co-host Burley of Burleyman Gaming, and our other third of the Arena Productions, making his first appearance on Warp Factor 10, Turn-Based Carl. How you doing, Carl?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I mean, I of course want to talk about the show. I just, scheduling wise doesn't work out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, and Carl is on our other shows like our the Marvelous Marvel Discussion Arena, and of course he's a full-time member of the Arena multi-platform gaming news podcast that we do every week. So, so welcome in, Carl, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say about Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, of course, episode 10. And Burley, you excited? Yeah, getting ready to talk about the season finale. Yeah, so I'll bring up the image for you. So, good old Captain Pike and Admiral Pike we're going to see in this episode. And of course, for all of you viewers, I just want to let you all know that this is a spoiler-filled review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 10, the season finale of the first season. So if you have not watched the episode, please go to Paramount Plus and watch the episode and then come back and watch this review episode, because it will be spoiler filled as we talk about the episode and parts of the season as well. So this episode, if you haven't watched, go watch it and then come back and enjoy our video here. So that's your spoiler warning. So guys, man, what a great way to end the season is to kind of have this ode to the original series and balance of terror from the original series. I mean, parts of this episode were so similar to the actual episode of Balance of Terror. I mean, even all the way down to the dialogue. I mean, it was very similar.
Did you watch that recently?
Yes, I did. I actually watched it the other day again, just to.
Me too. I did the
just
same.
To check it out. Yeah,
it's all on this Paramount Plus. So just watch it.
Yeah, so good. I mean,
I unfortunately did not have time to rewatch Balance of Terror. I had enough time just to watch this. So.
Yeah. So, okay, let's kind of break down the episode here as we start the episode. Of course, it's interesting how we kind of we had Captain Batel from the first episode of the season, with the bearded and kind of out of, kind of mentally depressed Captain Pike. Now she's back, of course, here close to the neutral zone with Captain Pike. She has her own ship, the Cayuga, and the Cayuga is another Constitution class ship. So they're having their little dinner. Pike is, of course, cooking again, and like I was saying, Burley, Captain Pike just needs to make his own cooking show.
I would subscribe just to that. I'd watch that over Picard season 3.
Anson Mountain is his new cooking show, man. It would be so good. So anyway, he's cooking pasta and they're talking and catching up with each other. So how did you feel about this kind of a shot from the first episode, from the very beginning of the season, and now at the end of the season we kind of catch up with her? What did you guys think of that?
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing her again because we saw her for like 2 minutes in the first episode. That's about it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to bring her back and be like, we can go back to what we started with at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I like this relationship that they have. I'm kind of like curious what it is, because they almost seem like they have this like sort of on and off long-term relationship, and like maybe Pike is at this point, because he knows his fate, he's kind of keeping distance from her, because it doesn't seem like the type of guy who would like like lead a girl on like in any way, or like even maintain this type of relationship. Like Pike's just a nice guy. He's just like a really good guy.
Yeah.
A Boy Scout even.
Yeah. Although I do think, now that I see this little relationship that they started and they alluding to again here, didn't he hook up with like that alien woman in like one of the episodes early on?
Well, she was the leader of the society in the one episode with the boy before, that was right? Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I don't, Pike, man, you little cheater, cheating on your main squeeze here.
Yeah. So anyway, as we move into the episode, obviously it's very similar to Balance of Terror. Of course, we get the screen that shows the neutral zone, and we see all of these outposts that are aligned close to the neutral zone. And apparently, I think it was Outpost 4 with the commander Hassan, who comes to the Enterprise and is in the ready room with Pike and Spock and Number One, and they're talking. And then, of course, the boy comes into the room, and obviously this boy is one of the children that 7 years later is a cadet, and he is unfortunately one of the cadets that dies, one of 2 cadets that dies in the accident, where of course Pike loses his functional abilities and has to be relegated to a type of wheelchair. And he obviously knows about his fate. And of course, freaking out over seeing this boy, he walks out of the room saying that he's feeling ill. And of course, Number One comes up to him outside close to his quarters. And he's like, I guess I have to do something. And so he goes into his quarters and he starts to dictate a message to these kids, especially Hassan's son. And then we get, of course, himself as an older admiral. And of course, it was interesting to see the original series movies uniforms.
I like
in
that.
this episode.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Except for good. There was one part though. Parts of the sleeve looked a little bit different there.
Yeah, it's definitely not the exact, but it's
not the exact,
version
but
of it.
Very, very close to exactly, how the other uniforms were. But so anyway, he has this Klingon from the Klingon monks, this stone that is able to show him the future. And that what he's going to be doing with that dictation is going to completely alter, how reality is, and how things are going to play out. So what did you guys think of this scene here and seeing an Admiral Pike? Carl, I'll start with you on this one.
Man, Pike looks good no matter what his hairstyle is, his uniform, his age.
Yeah.
I know, it was cool. I like that the older version of him. The one thing about this whole like time crystal thing is I'm like, I just don't really get it. It's not a big deal because it's more of a nitpick, because this show I think is really doing a great job. It's just like I don't know, like you're this random Klingon time crystal, like, yeah, man, here, just watch your future. Somehow we can like pinpoint a specific time that you can watch. And I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. But
yeah. Burley, what did you think of the scene with Admiral Pike? Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And as Carl said, he's just a sharp dressed man. And it doesn't matter, even with the beard, without the beard, he just looks good.
Actually, I just thought of how like they were kind of and he was kind of getting annoyed by his other self, like kind of finishing his sentences, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you if he had another one of you guys just coming in saying, yeah, no, what you're about to do is going to change everything, screw things, to prove to you, to show you what can happen. Here, touch this magic time crystal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so anyway, he touches the crystal, and then he goes basically 7 years into the future to 2266.
yeah.
And what's interesting about it is, of course, we have Uhura back, and she's now a lieutenant. And she's wearing, it's interesting, and it was really cool to see her in the uniform that, of course, the same type of uniform that Nichelle Nichols wore in the original series.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the collar, right?
Yes,
is like
the
more
collar.
open.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And and of course, then there's a distress call, and of course, the base, the number 4 mining colony there was being, of course, attacked, just like in Balance of Terror. And of course, Pike asked him if his son was there, and he's like, no, and thank God, no, his son was not there. And then, of course, another plasma, the Romulans show up, and the plasma weapon is fired off, and it just completely obliterates the station there. Yeah. So
yeah. I was really surprised. So when I watched, like you said, Balance of Terror, and how they mirror it in some ways, like exactly like in this interaction here happens the same way, where he's like, oh, do you have weapons? Can you fire? And it's like, no, my phasers are out, or something. Like they'd say the same exact exchange.
Same exact things, yes.
Which is cool. I like what they did there, because
all the way, before you go on, Carl, all the way down to the little details. If you see on his uniform here, like the badge insignia here is exactly the same as in Balance of Terror.
Oh, is it? I didn't even
as the commanders.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah.
So it's cool how they took that episode and they're like, all right, they pinpointed that as like, this is a pivotal point in history for some, if it went differently, and we're going to recreate that, and then we're going to have it diverge. So like, but they even, as we'll go on, we'll see like certain characters take roles of other characters that weren't there in the episode. It's cool.
Yeah. Burley, your thoughts?
Yeah. I agree with you guys. Like, it's nice that they're really keeping to the source material, and it just shows they're watching, and that they respect, and that they want to keep with the kind of continuity, and to pay homage and do things right. Can these writers talk to the Picard staff, please?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So anyway, let's moving on. I mean, some of the characters, of course, we get another. Of course, there is one Federation starship that's in the vicinity, and it's the Farragut, and obviously in Balance of Terror in the original series, of course, Kirk is in command of the Enterprise, but of course, obviously, because the timeline is different, Pike is still in command of the Enterprise, but who is in command of the Farragut? None other than James Tiberius Kirk. And he comes and he helps out with the Farragut. So this is, instead of like in Balance of Terror being just the Enterprise taking on this Romulan warbird, or this Romulan vessel, you have 2 ships now. You have the Enterprise and the Farragut that are trying to work together to figure out, who they are. And it's interesting, through this episode, you see that the Romulans and humans had never seen each other. Like there had been a war between each other 100 years previously, but they had never really seen each other. They'd never seen their faces before, never saw what they look like. And so having Kirk come into the picture as the captain of the Farragut was interesting. And I like the part where Pike takes Samuel Kirk aside and says, we need to talk right now. And then they go into the ready room and they start talking, and Sam's talking about his brother. He is a pain in the ass, and he likes to bend the rules a bit, not a bit, a lot. So what'd you guys think of that?
Yeah.
Burley, go ahead. You go first on this one.
I was gonna say I really like that he immediately pulls him aside and said he just dishes all the dirt on his brother. And I can't remember if it said here or in later. It's like, yeah, he doesn't believe in the no-win scenario.
Yeah.
So like they're
he hates to lose. Yeah, he hates to lose.
Yeah. And they're giving you all the stuff for Kirk. If you've watched the original series and you know anything about Kirk, they're giving you the just dump here, which was nice. I think it was handled well.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was really interesting is, especially with Paul Wesley playing the role of James T. Kirk, is he is very different than William Shatner's James T. Kirk. Since from what we've seen in this episode, maybe in the future his character will kind of be more like the William Shatner James T. Kirk. But Carl, how did you think? What did you think of Paul Wesley's performance as Kirk?
I thought he was really good. I actually felt, to me, he felt like Kirk. He just felt like,
oh yeah,
he didn't feel like Shatner, right? Which is fine. I don't want him to feel like Shatner.
Yeah,
he did. He even did. I feel like he mirrored some of the sort of mannerisms, and I think that helped a lot to make him feel like Kirk. And even I think his personality was very much like Kirk would act in most cases. Yeah. I think he's great. I wouldn't, not that I want anything to happen to this show, but like, if for some reason they want to do more adventures with Kirk, you got a great guy here to take over.
Yeah. And then of course they, just like in Balance of Terror, they get that little communication thing, and they're able to put it together, piece it together, and show the video to see what the Romulans on the bridge of that ship actually look like. And I'll show you the video or the image here. On the left, of course, is Mark Leonard from, of course, the original series and Balance of Terror. And then, of course, you have from Strange New Worlds version of the Romulans. But what was so cool about this episode was you hear that music playing, that dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. And then of course it pans to Spock, and then of course his eyebrow kind of goes out like fascinating, things like that. So just like in Balance of Terror. But I mean, even down to the uniforms and the outfits, you see those like little triangular shapes. They use those for the sub commander as well in this episode. So yeah, it was good stuff.
And the helmets, those weird helmets, they did have some weird helmets like that.
The security guards, they did.
In the background,
in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, of course, the difference in Balance of Terror is that there's a guy who's like a helmsman or something. It's like really racist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they tried to make Ortegas kind of in this episode similar to that other helmsman. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't go too far. Although I did like Pike, like, just giving it to her, like shutting her up.
Raised his voice, enough.
Yeah. Because look, like Ortegas is my least favorite character. I'll put that out there right now. And I've noticed this before, that she will kind of undermine the captain. And she was doing that here, and then she did it again, and I'm happy that he shut her down on that. So I'm like, this is not how you run a ship. You can't have one of your random people just like mouthing off to you on the bridge like that. Yeah. And Kirk did the same thing too, because that guy went off, and except he was being very racist. He was accusing Spock of like being a spy for the Romulans. Now that he knows that they look similar, and Kirk had to shut him up.
Yeah,
and, it was good. They did a good job.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like the styles of Pike and Kirk, especially in how they came about for the plan of dealing with the Romulan ship and all. Obviously, in Balance of Terror, of course, they Kirk is basically able to not destroy the ship, but it came close to destroying it. Whereas here, Kirk and Spock they're on the same wavelength there. It's like we should attack. And of course, obviously Spock, just like he did in Balance of Terror in Strange New Worlds episode here, Ethan Peck's Spock said the same thing. If the Romulans are like the Vulcans of old, in their evolution, then we need to attack, because if we don't, then we're showing weakness, and they will take advantage of that. And Kirk basically agreed with that. But of course, Pike had another idea. Well, and Kirk agreed with to go along with Pike in the sense that we should damage their ship, but we should not destroy them. To have some kind of dialogue with them. So, how did you guys feel about that part of the episode, and how Kirk and Pike worked together? I'll start with you, Carl. Go ahead, man.
It was interesting to see the clash of styles and to see them butt heads a little bit, but then ultimately, find ways to work together, because they're both good guys. They're both good captains. They just have different sides of it, and it's interesting. You don't even need to watch Balance of Terror to see why Pike's actions ended up causing a war versus the way Kirk might have handled it.
Right.
But it's very obvious when you see the two different episodes and how they conclude, why that is the case.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, going back to the beginning of the episode, or to the beginning of this timeline, when in Balance of Terror, of course, Kirk is the one in the chapel, giving the speech and marrying the two crew members, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas Pike, of course, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, there. It's like, and then when the red alert comes up, he's like, oh, thank God,
Yeah.
But what's funny about that is, and a little bit of a difference between Balance of Terror and this episode, where in Balance of Terror, the husband dies.
Right.
Whereas in this episode, the wife dies. So having that alternate timeline kind of changed things up a bit in that situation. But and I like the dialogue between Kirk and Pike after the Farragut was, obviously they were trailing them through the comet's tail, and Kirk's plan did not unfortunately work for them. And of course, Kirk, like he said in Balance of Terror, he's like, I won't misunderestimate that commander again. But of course, obviously, the Farragut was destroyed. And then, of course, he comes back to the Enterprise. And of course, La'an shows up in the episode as Kirk's first officer. But, he comes into the room with Pike, and they're arguing. And it's like Pike saying, don't make me remind you that you're talking on my ship after your ship had already been destroyed. And Kirk is like, yeah, fair enough.
Because he didn't have the Enterprise. See, if Kirk had the Enterprise,
that's right.
Fine.
Yeah, it's like when he first came on board, it's like, and he hugged his brother, Sam. Sam's like, oh, my brother, he's jealous,
So I want to point out, this was an interesting little clue, tidbit, or something, right, that we don't know about. Right here was when La'an hugs Pike, and then he makes the comment like, "Oh, he's like, you're a hugger now," or something. He's like, "That's weird." And this being 7 years later, she's like, is like surprised. She's like, "What do you mean? Like, I don't understand." Like, implying like they went through something, or their relationship has changed in some way, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I really don't know, and I don't really want to speculate too much because there's not enough clues. But I think that's an interesting thing to pay attention to for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, and obviously another. Oh, go ahead, Burley. You have something to say about this.
I was going to say, we get that moment with her, and then he also asks about the child from the last episode, and she's like, gives him that weird look of like, no one's heard from her, no one can talk to her, and he's like, he should know that.
Number one, you mean?
Yeah, you're talking about number one, Burley. Yeah, because she was arrested,
right.
Obviously.
So. Yeah, which that was also good stuff for the future. But they addressed that again later in the episode.
Right. Yeah. So of course, and we move on, obviously, and what's interesting about this is that we don't get to see the Praetor in Balance of Terror, but we see the Praetor and all of the Armada of the Romulan ships come in. And I really loved Kirk's plan. Like, Kirk is like, can I borrow a shuttle? And he takes the shuttle and he brings back all of those robotic ships, those mining ships.
Yeah.
And it was so cool how it's like they're trying to play the Praetor and everything. It's like our full armada is here, It's like our war class ships or whatever they were called, that Pike, came up with some name for that armada,
Yeah, great plan.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool plan. Yeah, so
great Kirk-like plan.
Kirk-like plan. Yeah,
I love that plan, and it just shows you he is doing a really good job as Kirk. He's sticking true to the character. Yes, he is different than how Shatner was playing him, but you still get mannerisms, you still get the feel of Kirk, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, and Pike is seeing what type of a commander that he really is, and that he is probably going to be in the future. If he gets back to his own timeline, probably the best candidate to actually take over the Enterprise. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out in season 2, because obviously after all of this takes place, you see Pike in his quarters or in the ready room. I don't remember exactly which room it was, but he was looking at the file of Kirk, and of course Spock comes in there because obviously in the alternate timeline, of course, there's the damage to the Enterprise from the plasma weapon that that they fire at them, and obviously Spock is maimed, just like Pike is maimed in the accident with the cadets. And so, it's basically Spock who is being sacrificed in this timeline.
Yeah.
And so back in the normal timeline, he's like, saying thank you in a way. Not that he knew exactly what was happened to him in the alternate timeline, but
I love that. Spock is so good.
Yeah.
Guys, he's so...
Ethan Peck is amazing. He's great.
He's
great.
Fantastic.
Fantastic actor, and he's great as Spock. And it's interesting how Kirk, it's like, you can see a little bit of the future there with Kirk and Spock. Kirk was like, that's excellent. Some of the things that Spock was discussing, on the bridge, as they were on opposite ships, but. And so
I had a thought.
Go ahead.
One of the things I love about showing the contrast between these two captain styles is that, I mean, they've done a lot of it in the show, but we finally, I think, really cementing the style of Captain Pike as a captain.
Yeah,
because they say he's the Boy Scout, and like we know that, like, and that's something that's sort of shown throughout the entire season. But now to watch him, like, plan and face a challenge versus Kirk and how he would face the challenge. It's really great to feel Captain Pike and as a different character and a different mentality than Kirk, than Picard, than Cisco, than Janeway. All of your captains that you love from or know from the Star Trek of the years. Now Pike really is cemented as a specific style of captain and character, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah. Burley, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Carl on that. But one thing we didn't talk about is I think they referenced Scotty in there when the ship was damaged.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you hear his voice. You don't, and you see a hand, but you don't see actually Scotty. But
you got that. I was gonna say. So you get they set up Scotty in this, which was nice. So I was wondering if they were gonna do as I was watching the episode last night.
Yeah.
I do wonder because they filmed season 2. I didn't get to check yet. Like, did they cast someone for Scotty? Like, will we see these characters? Like, will we see this Kirk again? And will we maybe see Scotty now that they implied that they did a voice?
The Wikipedia page doesn't have any mention yet.
Doesn't?
No, it's not updated.
Maybe the IMDb.
Well,
I'm hoping this Kirk comes back. Like, I'm not saying he needs to be in every episode kind of thing, but bring him back every so often. You can use him.
Yeah.
Once
That's funny. I didn't even think about it, but the title, as soon as I search for Strange New World Scotty, the first article that comes up, it says Major Death sets up Scotty for season 2. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Hemmer.
Hemmer,
gone.
yeah.
They
Hemmer's
need a
gone. Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, whether they bring him in season 2, we shall see. But I have a feeling they probably will at some point. But the big question is, what's going to happen to Una? Number 1, of course, at the end of the episode, obviously things are back to normal, and Pike is on the bridge, and he's kind of walking around, and everything seems to be back to normal again. But then he gets a message, you and number 1 come to the transporter room, and obviously Pike's girlfriend from the beginning of the episode, she comes with a couple of security guards.
In quotes.
Yeah. Comes and arrests number 1 for being an Illyrian. Obviously, earlier in the season, we find out that number 1 is an Illyrian, and she is, of course, hiding her, genetic alterations, and obviously somehow they found out, and it'll be interesting to find out in season 2 who was the snitch. It'll be interesting to find out. But anyway, of course, she's taken away, and of course, Pike says, it's not the end of this. So, but who will become the first officer while she is gone? That'll be interesting to find out. Maybe Spock.
I was gonna say my money's on Spock.
Yeah. Spock, yeah. I mean, La'an is a obvious. She was the first officer, right, in the first episode, and then they switched her to security.
Yeah. Switched her to security, but of course, obviously, she is still out with the girl trying to find her parents from the previous episode. So,
That's true.
So, and she's taken a leave of absence. So
by season 2, she might just be back.
Probably. Yeah, because she's in the credits for season 2, so she's
of course.
Most likely.
I didn't think she was leaving. It's sort of, now that I think about it, you bring that up, it kind of just excuses her from being in this episode.
Yeah. Except for that one part in the alternate timeline. Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, she's one of my, Christina Chong, she's a great actress. And I think this entire season, she's been amazing as the chief of security. And if I wanted somebody to be my teacher, especially for security, she would be the one I would want. She was amazing throughout the season, and her ordeal with the Gorn and having to deal with that, mentally, especially as a child, having to go through all that trauma. I thought she was really good in this season, along with, of course, Jess Bush as a Nurse Chapel.
I love her.
I really like Nurse Chapel, and her relationship with Spock, I think, is going to be ongoing into season 2, which is really interesting. I love that chemistry between them.
They're definitely going to keep that. That's going to be a huge thing in season 2. You know it.
Yeah,
they've done it enough times in season 1, and they show she's really got feelings for him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So
great stuff
with La'an. I hope that there's the implication we got with her with the hug thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like something with her character will change in some way, because I like her, but I do think that I don't like the whole thing with the Gorn and her. Like when she's like, oh, I'm so mad about the Gorn. I'm not loving that. I don't really think it's a great angle.
She reminds me of Ripley, from the Alien films.
And they were doing that on purpose, I guess. Like that whole episode, like her, she just seems like her thing is like, oh, I hate the Gorn. It's too much. Like we saw the episode with her when she was playing the princess in the fairy tale episode. And I was like, yo, this actress, you are underutilizing her, because I thought she was great. So I would like to maybe see a little bit different side of her personality going forward.
I feel that when it came to Rebecca, Robogene Stamos, I thought they really underutilized her character throughout the season, and maybe it was for a reason. I mean, there are a lot of people saying that she's just very, just plain, and it's maybe that was a reason why they kept her out of a lot of the episodes. I don't know. What were your guys' feeling about number one?
Yeah, Burley, you wanna?
I was gonna say, like, she was good, but she was underused. But I think they're gonna try and set this up as a story thing of like, because of what she is, she doesn't want to do too much to give it away. But like they give it away in what, like it was like episode 2 or 3 of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that.
Yeah.
There was no build up to it. There was no. It felt like it meant nothing because we didn't know anything about her.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, it was the same episode they revealed Mbenga having the secret daughter hidden away.
Yeah.
So I was like, you can give us 2 reveals in one episode.
Yeah.
Bit much. Yeah. She
and one of those reveals is the one that goes through the season. The rest of it, the other reveal, her reveal, they didn't do anything with till the finale. Yeah.
So it is kind of unfortunate, like kind of wasted. And like to me, she needs a serious personality injection. Like I get very little from her. I don't hate the character in any way. It's just there's not enough there. There was the one episode where her and La'an were doing the
game.
The game, right? I forgot what they called it. And I love that dynamic. That was good.
Yeah, when they were in the turbo lift playing that one game. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Oh, the ensign thing, that was too funny.
And then they did the walk on like the hull. I'm like, oh wow, it was interesting.
Yeah, with the force field and signing. Yeah, so
they signed it. That was interesting. I like that, but I wonder. I mean, is the actress not up to it? She's not known for being a major actress. She was what do you call it, from X-Men, Mystique in the original.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But didn't have a lot to say there, we know for sure. So remember that. So we'll see where it goes with her. I don't mind. Like look, if they want to change things up, like they got rid of Hemmer, which that's sad. I don't know if he's
coming back. Not Hemmer, but the actor who played Hemmer is coming back to the show in a different capacity. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe as a different crew member or someone, maybe a different alien race or something that we'll see. But
Oh, sorry about that.
I
didn't know that. So I mean, look, I think it's possible to bring him back. Would it undercut the impact of his death? I don't know, maybe a little, but it depends on how you do it. It's not like they haven't brought characters back, like Spock, of course. In the movies, died and came back. So if you tell an interesting story about why it happens and maybe something to do with special about his race of alien, that would be cool. I would like that because he was a good character. I don't want him to be gone.
Yeah. So before we end the episode, I just want to get your guys' thoughts about your favorite episode of the season. For me, probably, obviously, the previous episode 9, the aliens, predator type of survival horror. That was really cool. But my favorite episode of the season was the second episode, The Children of the Comet. That was a great episode where Uhura got to use her language skills. Obviously, that's part of my career is in languages, and so being able to figure out how to work their way through and get this comet redirected, and of course the aliens that they had to deal with that were kind of like zealots in a way. I just really enjoyed that episode. It was a great episode. So how about for you guys? What was your favorite episode of the season? Burley, I'll start with you. What was your favorite?
It's a little hard because there have been actually so many good episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually trying to think which one.
You need some time. I think I got mine.
Go ahead,
okay,
Carl.
Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember the name, of course, but the episode where Spock switches mind and body with his girlfriend.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a
cool
good
episode.
move.
Yeah.
But I loved that episode because I think it was, I don't remember what number. I think it was fairly early, like where there was a couple episodes for me. I think maybe like 3, 4. This might have been 5 or 6. Maybe 3 or 4 where I was like, I don't know about this show. Like I feel like they're not really selling the individual stories too well. And when we got to that episode, I was like, this episode just nails a solid like sci-fi Star Trek-y like.
Carl, it was episode 5. Episode 5 called Spock Amok.
There you go. So I was right. Yeah. It was 3 and 4 that like I felt like I didn't really like that much. And then 5, I was like, you guys totally nailed it here. You told a really fun story. You knew your characters well in this story. Your actors were fantastic. Of Spock playing the woman, I forgot her name.
T'Pring.
T'Pring acting like Spock. Like, and then you had the whole thing with Nurse Chapel and being involved in as well. And then, the classic, like, Spock is needed for this negotiation and she's got to pretend to be him. I love it. It's just like a classic sort of thing that they did really great with this new cast in this era of Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the beginning of that episode with the music, when he's fighting his other self, it's like the human Spock and the human side of Spock fighting the Vulcan side of Spock, and that
really good callback to the class original series like fights that they would do.
Yeah, it was so good.
Great episode.
Burley, if you figured it out, what's your favorite episode?
You know what? I'm going to go a little odd one. I can't remember the name of the episode, but I believe it is episode 7. The Space Pirate one.
Oh, okay. The Serene Squall.
Yeah. That was a really good episode. And it does stuff with the one and done, but it also expands things because we've got at the end revealed with Spock's half-brother, Sybok. So hopefully do something interesting with him, not like they did for the movies. Yeah. And just it really sets more of the whole Spock and Nurse Chapel. And it just really shows you how Pike can just go in and he is a smooth talker with those pirates. And he knows the skill. It is like, I love that. They love my meal. No, they don't really. Just he's like, yeah. You want to kill us and all this and that. You can do that. Just let me cook you guys something first. Winning him over with food, and he can just get that silver tongue and just slowly but surely get him. To the way he wants things.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, season 2 is production wrapped up July 1st. So season 2 is probably going to be coming in early 2023. So, it'll be really exciting to see where they go with this. I mean, how much time is going to have elapsed between season 1 and season 2? It'll be interesting to see. When it comes to the characters, obviously, we talked about whether or not we're going to get Scotty in season 2. If Spock is going to be first officer, come the beginning of the season, it'll be really interesting to see, the direction they go. There's been rumors that the Klingons are coming back for season 2. And then of course the Romulans again. Will we get any more of them? We shall see. Exciting.
Really, I wanted to say the episode you brought up there. I love the villain, the one Angel was the character's name, I guess, by the end.
Angel, yeah.
Did you guys also enjoy her?
Yeah, I thought she was interesting. Yeah. I liked how she was playing Spock.
She knew everything about Vulcan. She knew how to play him and take advantage. I love that. And he's like, he's like, sure. She's saying to him like, and Spock's like, this won't work, and he's like, no, by her Vulcan, because she is engaged to you. She has to do that. She's like, I already know all this. I know how to play this.
And most likely, she is the wife of Sybok. Because they
said
brought
that.
Up,
they said that.
Yeah. So
that's why she was trying to get him out of the prison.
So
whatever they call it.
So Sybok is probably going to have some kind of role in season 2. I mean, with Spock, maybe. Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, I thought it's like I totally bought her in the beginning, and I loved her right away, like playing the con on Spock, like very early, starting to play that out, trying to get him.
Yeah.
And then her turn to like her full character. I mean, she was a little over the top. I understand. I admit, like when she was like full on herself.
Yeah.
but I still like, I love the fact that she was able to play like a completely different version, like and just fool everyone. And her plan again, like I thought it was a really good plan, and Spock just was able to play it because she didn't anticipate that Spock would do something like that. I mean, it is out of character for him.
Yeah.
With Nurse Chapel there. And again, it also builds up what we saw with Nurse Chapel, as we're seeing, episode 5 that I brought up, builds up that relationship. And again, it's built up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, great stuff.
Great
was
stuff.
the one I was also thinking of, but I also thought of like the other captain was kind of silly. Really, like he kind of looked lame. Like his green makeup was kind of lame, but yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was just more of a jokey villain. That was just that's the worst part of the episode is him is just kind of hokey, but it's supposed to be jokey pirates, and then how they have to take advantage of how they are to get the mutiny to go.
Yeah.
As I was saying, I was going to say before you go on, Carl, I was saying to Burley in a previous episode when we did the review of that episode, he kind of reminded me of an Orion version of a John Candy. He kind of looked like a John Candy in makeup and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it's fine. It's fine in that they played it well because that was the sort of comedic thing. And like you brought up, like Pike doing the cooking.
Yeah.
And then I love the interaction with him and Una, which again, a tiny bit of character there where they're like, oh, we're going to do whatever it was, like plan that they've done before. They're like, oh, again. Oh, you're gonna do the mutiny thing again. I love that little they've been through before, they have a history. Although there's not enough of that,
So good stuff, and it was a great season, great 10 episodes, and it was a kind of a breath of fresh air in a sense after Picard season 2. So it's great to see. Great to see this series and where it's going to go. And of course, obviously, we hope that Picard season 3 with the, that'll be coming up with the Next Generation crew coming back for the final season of Picard, how that plays out. We hope that it's successful and, it's a good season.
I really, really hope they don't screw that up.
Yeah, we shall see. But
bringing back everyone.
I'm putting my money. After having to watch and review season 2, I don't have faith. If they take the writers from this show and put it into season 3, then there's hope. But
we shall see.
I'm looking forward to season 2 of this. I really can't. Can't wait, and I'm hoping we get more Kirk. You don't need to use him every episode, but just bring him in
and there's also
a season.
And there's also Discovery too. We're going to get another season of Discovery, and of course Discovery is in a whole different type of ball game now, being in the 31st century, or 32nd century, I should say. So it's they can take that in all different directions. So we shall see. But Star Trek Strange New World season 1 was an amazing season, and we're looking forward to bringing season 2 to you when it comes out in early 2023, probably early 2023. So stay tuned. And so this has been our Star Trek Strange New Worlds season 1, episode 10, season finale review. I've been your host, X-Bat, along with my co-hosts, Burleyman Gaming. And with his first appearance on Warp Factor 10, Turn-Based Carl, we hope to see you more here on Warp Factor 10, Carl. So anyway, take care, everyone, and we hope to catch you in the next episode of Strange New Worlds. And, of course, we'll be doing reviews of Discovery and Picard Season 3 when it comes out. So until then, take care, and we hope to catch you in the next episode of Warp Factor 10. So take care, everyone. Peace out.
Like and subscribe.
Yep.